indoors. As you can see, I'm not in the snake room, and I know what you're thinking, quarantine, so we've got a new snake. Actually not. Quarantine, yes, but I had a friend who's going back to the UK for 4 weeks, and she asked me to look after her snake for her while she's gone, so I'm just going to do a quick review of the setup. The snake will be in quarantine, both for its safety and for my own snakes. It'll stay in a separate room for the duration, so no fear of cross-contamination. I don't know this snake, and when it came round last night, it wasn't inside its hide. You'll see the setup that they have here. It's quite a nice little setup with the Exoterra tub. Quite a generous size for a snake this size. It's quite small, and you can see we've got a water bowl, we've got a hide, and we've got substrate. I'm not sure what the substrate is. I'm not familiar with this kind of substrate, but we have the main elements. So as I said, when it came around last night, it wasn't in its hide, which is unusual for a ball python. Normally if you give them a hide, they'll use the hide, and this one wasn't. It was curled up outside. So the first thing I checked last night was that it hadn't actually pooed inside its hide and needed cleaning out, because when a snake poos in the hide, that's normally when it comes out and won't go back in until you've cleaned it. That wasn't the case, and I noticed last night it was actually using its hide, which is good. The snake was relaxing in there. This is quite an open tub. As I said, it's quite big, but I'm going to be keeping it in a dark storeroom, so I don't really see any issues. If the snake has been living in this tub and it's happy, we'll leave it in there. If it refuses to eat for me, I might try putting it into a slightly smaller tub, just to make it feel a little bit more secure, but I don't think that's going to be necessary. The snake was eating. It ate last week, and it's on small rats. So because I don't know this snake, we're just going to take a quick look, check it over. I'm actually going to weigh it too. I don't normally weigh snakes. I go more on the look, but because this is somebody else's snake and I don't know it, it will be a useful gauge for me to just to make sure that it goes back nice and healthy, that it's not losing weight. So I do have my weighing scales here. So let's just remove the water tub here. This is quite a small water tub, large surface area and quite shallow, so that's going to evaporate quite quickly. So let me just put that over there, and what I'm going to do when I put everything back is to give it a larger water bowl, something a little bit deeper that holds a little bit more water, so I don't have to fill it up every day. That just saves a little bit of work. But the other important aspect is this is a ceramic tub, and evaporation means that the tub itself, the water bowl, when I sit it in there, is going to stay several degrees cooler than the rest of the enclosure. Here in the tropics, we don't use heat mats. The whole enclosure is going to be kept in a non-air conditioned room, and it's going to be close to 90 degrees Fahrenheit, which is what you guys with heat mats would be keeping as your hot spot. So the snake lives pretty much all the time on the hot spot, and it may need to cool down, and the water bowl is a good way of providing it with access to thermal regulation. It can bowl wrap to cool off, because the bowl will stay several degrees cooler. So I'm going to use that ceramic bowl rather than the little shallow dish that it was in before. So let's take a look at this guy. Here we go, and it has pooed, as you can see. So normally these little ball pythons are quite defensive, so I'm expecting this to be a little bit snappy. It is quite small, so we'll just go in and pick this guy up and take a look. You can see it's a lovely little normal ball python. I think this is a female. There she is. And I can already see from the tub, the sides of the tub here are clear, so unlikely she has a respiratory infection. You can see the smear marks on the side of the tub if she had. And I'm just having a quick look here for any sign of mites, checking the belly, check the vent. And that all looks to be pretty clear. It's a little bit skinny. For a snake of this size, it is a little bit skinny. But not unhealthily so. So we'll take this tub here and just give it a, I'll zero my scales. Okay, we'll stick it in here. And she's sitting right at 200 grams, so we make a note of that. That's my starting point for the 4 weeks, 200 grams, so hopefully we can get her to go back a little bit heavier than that. So she can stay in here. As I say, I'm not familiar with this substrate. It has got some water in it already, and the snake has pooed inside its hide. So what I'm going to do is we'll just remove all of that. Dispose of that later. Just a little bit of hand sanitizer after handling snake poo. So we'll just take the reptile disinfectant. Got plenty in there. A bit of a towel. And that smells nice and fresh, so we just get a little bit of. This is F10 mixed with a little bit of Jurassic mite. You can see that it's very, very dilute. And I'll just spray a little bit of that in the bottom, as I do with all my snake tubs. Just as a preventative, not because there is mites, but to just keep mites out. And I'm going to use paper substrate on this. So the first layer is newspaper, which is the absorbent layer. And that will soak up all of that disinfectant. And then my trusty IKEA white paper goes over the top of that. And here's a little tip, guys. Make the paper slightly bigger than the tub, like that, and just fold the ends up, like so. Because when the snake poos, inevitably it will poo probably in a corner or against one of the edges or inside its hide. But if it poos up against the side of the tub there, the poo will all be caught in here, and I can just lift the paper up and it won't actually dirty the tub at all. So it just makes it a little bit easier to clean. So just make the paper just a little bit wider than it actually needs to be. We'll put the hide back. There's the new water ball. We'll put some water in there. And we'll get this little girl out, and we'll stick her back in the tub. As I say, it's quite a generous sized tub for a snake this size. Normally I would keep it in a slightly smaller enclosure, but it does have a nice hide. It is a good hide. It's dark. It has one entrance, so the snake can curl up in there nice and secure and be kept in the dark. There is one thing about these tubs. These flaps, these are what I call snake escape routes. They're a great idea. This one doesn't serve much function because you can't really get in and do anything, but this one's great for feeding the snake and for doing whatever you need to do without actually opening the tub. But unfortunately, they're very easy to open, and snakes are very adept at this little lid here. It's just a little bit loose, and if it gets a bit of a purchase there on that corner, gets its head in there and pushes, that pops off nice and easily. Ball pythons are not particularly adept at doing this, but I did keep a Mexican black king snake in one of these tubs for a little while. You see the snake can climb up on top of the hide there and push against the top. And the Mexican black figured out how to open this lid and was a repeat offender at escaping. So what I'm going to do is take a little bit of gaffer tape here, and tape these shut. Doesn't do anything to the ventilation, but it means our little snake here can't get out. And Mr. Experienced snake keeper looking after somebody's baby snake and it escapes, that's not going to happen. So we will sacrifice the access on these lids. For a little bit more security, and when the owner comes back, if she prefers, she can take these off again. It is temporary, but that will hold these lids shut securely now, so that snake cannot escape through those hatchways. The snake was fed on Wednesday last week, and it is Monday today, so it's been almost a week. So we'll let this girl settle down for a few more days, and I'll keep a close eye on her, and we'll perhaps try and feed her in the next couple of days. See how we go. So she's going to go back into the dark storeroom there, perfectly healthy, perfectly happy. That's how I set my snakes up. Very simple setup. I liked the setup that I was given, but just the modification with the ceramic bowl so that the snake can thermoregulate. It can wrap that bowl, and I don't have to go in there every day and fill that bowl up. I can fill it up twice a week. So that's all good, guys. So not a new snake. This is actually a friend's snake that I'm looking after. As I said, she's going back to the UK for 4 weeks, which is a little bit long to be leaving a snake if you're going on holiday. Normally I would say that for holidays, anything up to 2 weeks, you can just leave the snake. Put some water into its tub, make sure it's got water, but it should be perfectly okay to go 2 weeks without any sort of supervision. I've left my snakes for 2 weeks, and they're all perfectly healthy and happy when I get back. There is some tub cleaning to do, obviously, but it's not detrimental to the snake. One of the few pets that you can keep and actually leave when you go on holiday. Now you see, look, she's exploring and looking at these hatchways here, so we've stopped that escape route now. Obviously, with a collection of more than 50 snakes, it's impossible to take my snakes around to somebody else's house and ask them to look after my snakes. So if I do go on holiday for longer periods, or if it's at an important stage in the breeding, I'm expecting eggs, or I'm incubating eggs and they're going to hatch, then obviously I have to bring home help to the snakes. I can't take the snakes to them. So a trusted friend gets access to the house, access to the snake room, and they come to the snakes once or twice a week just to check and make sure that everything's okay, but only if I'm going on holiday for longer than 2 weeks. As I said, 2 weeks is perfectly okay for the snakes. They're quite happy just to sit there by themselves. So that's pretty much it, guys. I'm what's the word? I'm babysitting a snake for 4 weeks while a friend's on holiday. So this is the setup. We'll put her back into the storeroom now. She looks nice and happy and probably hungry by now, so we'll feed her in the next couple of days. But that's how I set things up, guys. A few little tips there on time saving. Just if you do use these kind of enclosures, just be aware that the snake can open them almost as easy as you can. So we've got a little bit of added security there, so we're all good. And that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. See you next time.